kids to hustle home after another of the weapons sends another child to unsuspecting death. Here we go. Here we go again. Okay. And sometimes there isn't the love of your life, even though you thought so. This poem takes place in Venice, California, and my ex-husband and I lived in a house that had a big portrait of Judy Collins painted on the side by some wild fan, I guess. And so the poem takes place here, and the last line of the poem is a line from a Judy Collins song. Importance of place and leaving it at that. There are things I never say, and then some days a desire to spill the messy glut of the dramas you left me with boils over. It went beyond giving up the house on Sherman Canal with Judy Collins' face on the wall up against the deck painted by a man captivated with her wistful vision as he put her in that place, her blue eyes like blue beneath ice, and hair swept away from her face and quiet lips that let go of the music like a slow draw of silk from her mouth. Life mocks us, claiming it could be worse, or you did the best you knew. Tedious cliches like fingers dragged across cement, and the days you grabbed my hair, the slap from ear to ear that burned from your hot oven hands. You betrayed me, rubbed salt into wounds, and in early days, you rocked me out of our small boat into shallow water of the narrow canal where you wanted me to believe we lived in Venice, Italy, rather than that blip of land less than a mile from the ocean. I should have known our world was wrong when we raised havoc instead of kids, everything a project to cobble together distance, and me a fool as I wallowed in my shame and surrendered all belief in prudence and joy. When I called you one night wondering if you'd actually be home in time for dinner and maybe a movie, a woman picked up the phone and asked me who I was, and I said, wife, as though that could mean what I thought it should mean. I began to prowl around our home, the one they took down after the Judy Collins place, to know that you were gone, as if I could rearrange that unusable space you left inside. It was spring and nasty moss had grown along the withering patio where I discovered relief of having left it at that, where you would come toward me with some kind of odd embrace to remake me, to paint me into a corner of the railing and sigh, you are so beautiful. And I'd say, you don't know love at all. Thank you all. I think I'm going to read, I know there have been a ton of pandemic and quarantine poems, so forgive me for this if you are sick to death of them. Mm-hmm. But it's called Climbing Out of Quarantine One Limited Time. And I wrote this after the first big release from jail when they allowed us to go outside for the first time out of lockdown. Neighbors emerged beneath thresholds to meet with touch in the street, their arms picking up the city news and bits of flung cups dropped by walkers with their dogs. We are still protected by masks and distance from opposite curbs. I seem to be returning to the she of my own life again. Familiar face in the mirror, and necessary chores have a clearer path through obstacle courses of clutter across the rooms. The work of sorting out other people's lives curves my shoulders over the desk, and though they say we will return to office buildings soon, the shut-in light is still bad, so I pull up curtains that separate me from acrobatic squirrels in the trees. I soothe myself by taking the car into the hills that surround this city. My mind is a flurry of mutterings about mundane matters, and memory is a companion that makes me remember only what I've forgotten. I ascend a trail that smells of dirt and evergreen and suck breath beneath my mask under a blue sky that strides along the ridge of the mountains. A family trudges toward me, walking down from exhilaration and release. They move to the side of the trail and I move to mine, the kids with flushed faces. The parents nod. The boy says something about snakes in a muffle behind his child's mask, and the woman shakes her head no with what underneath could be a grin. The family passes me toward protection of their own home. The wind picks up as I descend in a slight jog to where the car sits alone. The drive home is short and something within my control. I slink into the garage where it is dark, illuminated by those crazy headlights that glow before a switch turns them on. For safety, the salesman said. And almost like invocation, there's a glint from my lost bracelet near the rakes and shovels and firewood, an exile dazzle in the murk of what has changed us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was a very clear description of finding something lost just because you happened upon a path that you hadn't been using for many months at that point. Yeah. Great description. Well, of course, with every other featured reader we have, I'd love to have an opportunity for just to, those of you on Zoom or anybody who'd like to say, thank you or something that maybe struck you as memorable or anything, please. Go ahead, Lynn. And make sure you're off mute, please.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm in one of Jan's classes, and I've never had this opportunity to hear her read like this. The first piece moved me so much. I almost felt I needed a half an hour or more to just kind of rest. But I just thought every one of those pieces each in its own way was just very emotionally moving. And it was a real treat for me. Hi, Jan. To be here and be able to be with all of you and hear her poetry.
Would you look to be up here?
Well,
Since the camera's here.
oh, that's right. They couldn't hear me. Lynn, thank you so much. Thank you. I get to hear your work every month, so, and believe me, it's
Poor
really
thing.
good.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. I love the way you read those prose poems, because frankly, I've had a bit of trouble when I'm just like reading them, because I'm so used to poetry, with the shortened sentences and all that. So you just read them so beautifully. It's given me a way now, I think, to really read them that I hadn't before. In other words, the rhythm is there, just the lines are kind of, but they definitely are poems. And so really thank you for that. It was beautiful.
Thank you. I remember seeing a great poet that Jeanette and I were talking about when we had a little bite to eat, Jory Graham, and I was just like in awe, I was just stunned into gratefulness for being able to hear her work, because it's difficult. And I went up to her afterwards and said, God, I've never understood your work the way I did hearing it tonight. And she said, I never understand a poet until I hear him read. And I thought, oh, well, that's very helpful. So yes, thank you. Yeah, good. I'm glad it helps read them. Yeah.
I want to say something if I can. I've known Jan hi, honey. I've known Jan almost my entire adult life, but I've never had the honor of listening to her read her poetry. And I was incredibly moved. It's such a visual way of expressing yourself through words. Just really, really moving and very, very heartfelt. Congratulations, Jan.
Thank you very much. It's great to see you, Sandy.
Hi, Jan.
Oh, Carla, hi, Carla.
Hi, Jan. We just wanted to say hi. No, I'm kidding. Just thank you. Thank you so much for inviting us, and we enjoyed your poems, especially the poems about your family and your close people. And I just loved your honesty, and it was so clear and yet beautiful. So thank you for inviting us, and we'll talk soon.
I would love to. Thank you for that. Thanks. You never know when things affect people. I don't until you
Fun to talk.
hear them say that out loud. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Really, it's fabulous. Now I get to hear you guys. I really look forward to it. Thank you all for coming, Zoom and in the flesh. So thanks very much for having me, Ron and Connor. Thank you so much. And Phil and Marcia, I always thank you all the time from wherever we are. Thanks. Thank you, Connor.
Thanks so much. All right, well, we're going to move into the open mic, and I know we have some, if anybody has shown up and hasn't put their name on the list, Ron, I believe, was grabbing some names there. And then if you, anybody on Zoom, if you are interested in reading off for the open mic, just click that button on the bottom of the Zoom. It says chat, and please put your full name in there. And as we, I'll just go down the list as we see them, and then we'll mix in some live people with some Zoom people, and we'll have a great time.
I get, you know, I forget about that. Yeah. Oh, that's really nice.
We're giving it a second here. There's a lot of really lovely comments in the chat, and we're just going to scroll through those for a second.
That's
Thank you, Ron.
nice. Sandra, oh my God.
All right.
Thank you very much for that. That's very nice.
Oh, absolutely. All righty. And I just want to let everybody know that we are recording the Zoom audio here, and that will go out just like it normally does. And if you would prefer not to be recorded, please let us know prior to when your piece begins, so that we don't record that portion. Okay. And why don't we start with you know, you came in person. You're going to give you first dibs. Sandra, come on.
Oh, I forgive you.
Actually, it's me when I'm young.
I love it.
Caught myself. Even I have to move this down a little bit. It's so short.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. My favorite piece of music is Rhapsody on Theme of Paganini by Rachmaninoff. I can listen to that over and over. Never get tired. This is a fairly new poem. It's called Surviving Childhood. Sometimes life is what it is, not our choice.
and we are forced